And boom.
All right.
Check
Oh,
1, 2. Oh, shit.
Mm.
Oh, shit. Hold on. 1 second. I didn't go live on Facebook. Let's go live on Facebook real quick. Boom. Out of order sequences. It's a little bit of an off day.
Oh.
Okay.
Hold on. And we're hitting. There we go.
Okay. So, change of plans.
Should be good now.
Okay. Let's go with take 3. Welcome to episode number 106 of the motherfucking podcast. This is, of course, the official podcast of the International Power Rock Combo, motherfucking Ruckus from Denver and Chicago, respectively. This episode, we have been trying to get together and do a little tribute to what we consider to be the greatest rock and roll club of all time. One of our home bars, and for a long time was just like Mecca to us, and the only place we sent anybody who came into town. We're doing a tribute to Three Kings Tavern. We were trying to do a call-in show, but Skype wouldn't let us merge the calls with our Skype number. However, if you look at the description of the episode, there is a link that you can click, and basically you're either going to have to do Skype from your computer or the Skype app on your phone, and you'll be able to call into the call, if I'm not mistaken. So what we're doing today is we are sharing some memories about our times at Three Kings. I've got a 6-pack of St. Pauli non-alcoholic. I've got a joint of, what is this? Super lemon sherb.
Oh,
That sounds scary. It's 28.54% THC. Is that a good thing? Is that a lot, or is that a small amount?
How could it be bad? How could any amount of THC be a bad thing?
Well, listen, I've done.
Well, actually, I could answer that. I could answer that question myself. Actually.
Yeah, right.
I did a low temp dab once with Joey, and
strike
it ruined
that
quite a few.
from the record.
Just keister it, man.
Gets through the joint. It's like a hippie tampon, man. Look at that thing. That is a good looking tuber.
So is this the time when?
Yeah, there you go.
So this is the time when we crack our beers, then, right?
Yeah, let's crack some beers.
Okay.
I'm gonna sit down since I'm not actually doing shit this year.
Look at that. I have just cracked my first beer for the day.
Oh,
Hey.
look at that! Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Can I get in here real quick, Ethan? All right.
Oh, that's nice.
We're having an episode of the podcast here. First of all, I'm sitting here with my good friends Logan and Gordo.
Oh,
Hi, we're friends.
We are friends. We're like, some might say we're the best of friends. We are the best of friends. We are the worst of friends. We're still going,
Well,
right?
Yeah,
Because
okay.
Caster is closed out.
No, like that makes no sense to me. I don't know what's happening right
we're not real friends, but we play them on television.
Yeah, which is the best way to be friends, I find. Hey, what's going on, y'all? In case, I really hope that this is not how you're getting the news, but Three Kings Tavern announced last week, was it over the weekend or was it last week? They announced officially last week that they were going to be closing their doors.
I heard like 2 days ago. So.
Yeah. And it is such a fucking bummer, man. It is like I cried when John Prine died, but I've been like legitimately in mourning since finding out about Three Kings closing down. Because even though we probably weren't playing there as much lately as we had been in the past, you know, it was still just such an important place for us. You know, we honed our craft in that bar. We became who we would become as musicians. Like everything that we are as musicians today, we owe to our experiences, not just with the building of Three Kings, but all the people that hung around there, the guys who ran it, Jim, Jeff, and Marty. You know, we had a history with them even before Three Kings became a thing. Real quick, Ethan, I was trying to just get to the comments here.
We can't do video in Skype today. I don't know why.
Well, no. I mean, I don't need to see it. I just wanted to be able to see the comments, and it was under the live thing that we were on. They got closed down.
James Freeman says he heard on Friday.
Hold on, you should be able to go.
And anybody listening, me and Gordo are going to be watching the comments. So if you got a story or a question or a comment or something, we're going to read it out loud.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will be doing that.
I'm opening up the chat right now so we can see some of the stuff.
Got my man Finley looking over my shoulder.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good there. He's looking pretty good.
I was trying to find
looking strong.
I was trying to find a more embarrassing photo of him, but he's a pretty photogenic fella.
No, he's good looking.
He is.
He's got nice lips. He's got very kissable lips. Well, like when you start the stream, it like comes up right over there in the thing.
Well,
so yeah,
the problem is your audio sounds like horrible.
My audio sounds horrible.
Everyone's audio sounds horrible on the stream right now. I don't know why this it's because of this.
It looks like it's frozen on my phone when I'm watching the stream. No, it's not frozen. It's moving. But it's just you guys. But it's
Is
just
our upload speed just fucked up?
No, your upload's fine. That's what this is for down here.
Encoding lag.
Yeah, lots of encoding lag.
Encoding lag.
So you should be able to go here.
No, I mean the audio sounds fine. It just came. Well, no. It just came up. Like you just opened up the stream and it came up, and the audio sounded fine.
It doesn't though. I promise you, it doesn't. Maybe it's because I killed the NDI streams. There. Is that better?
Okay. Cool.
Okay. And then 1 second. Let's
let's pause it so we don't get the. Or not pause it, but turn off the. Mute it.
Yeah, like that, and then add. I want to add. Kind of doing this on the fly here. 1 second.
Everybody, give a big round of applause to our tech guru, Ethan Klein. We fucking appreciate you, man. Woo. We've tried 3 times to get this thing going. We just like threw him a curveball. Just this morning, I was like, I want to do a call-in show. Let's do a call-in show.
Yeah, you're still getting like crazy amount.
And it worked this morning. It totally worked.
It kind of worked this morning. Hey, James Freeman, man. Good to hear from you. I had heard whisperings before Friday. Like I had heard murmurings, but I had not heard anything confirming the shutdown. In fact, I think I got the word of the official decision to shut down. Gordo, I heard from you. You actually called me up and told me about it going down. Are you at liberty to discuss how you came about that information?
I am not at this point.
Okay.
I'm not. I would choose not to reveal my sources on that. But because a good journalist never reveals his sources.
I mean bad news travels fast. You know.
Yeah, bad news travels fast, and I saw it. Like I heard about it before I saw rumblings of it on social media, and then once I saw that it was, a part of social media, I just kind of engaged from that point on.
Right, dude. Seeing just the photo dump, the Three Kings photo dump is like has been
amazing.
So cool. It's so cool, and I don't know.
Well, I just want to say, like, I am really alarmed. Really, I don't know, befuddled. I don't know, distressed. I don't know what you call it. Just like getting that news was really disheartening and upsetting. Because that was really my key to, the Denver music scene before I even moved here. Like just coming out and playing at Three Kings and meeting you guys. Like I met you guys, before I ever lived here, like just because of Josh's connection to Three Kings. So
right.
So like
you decided to move here almost based on the fact that you loved Three Kings so much. Like that was a big part of it.
It was a huge part of it. It's been something that I wanted to do for a long time. We've always had family out here, so I've always been making that drive between Kansas and Colorado, like, for most of my life, but never did live out here, and then when we were talking about doing it and we started coming out here and playing shows more, and especially, when we got into playing Three Kings, and Skylark and stuff, I was just like, God, this South Broadway scene is so awesome, and the people are so cool, and the scene is really supportive, and it's just, it's more supportive than any other scene, even the one that I was a part of at the time, so like, it was really a breath of fresh air to me, honestly. So,
it was like the major selling point for you, right? Like that was.
Yeah, because I made so many connections. I met so many of you great people in the musical community out here, and I was just like, God, this would be such a better place to be based out of if I'm going to be doing this thing.
I mean, you packed up your entire life and moved it out here. We've got someone who's trying to call in right now. I just wanted to let you know that we were unable to get the call in working, but you can engage with us in the comments, or you can click the Skype link that is up there, and you should be able to jump in and join the call through that. But the phone number itself is not working. We couldn't get the calls to merge. So if you're trying to call in right now, your best bet is to just click on the link in the description. In fact, I should probably go in and delete that phone number from. I should probably go delete that from the original post. So if you're just joining us, we are talking about what a fucking bummer it is that Three Kings Tavern closed down. I put up a post yesterday or the day before, kind of explaining some of our roots there, and I mean, I've told this story before, but I got arrested outside of 60 South Broadway when it was the Zoo Denver. This building right here, if you see behind Gordo, 60 South Broadway where Three Kings was. I got arrested outside of there. We went in and snuck in underage, and I sang karaoke at the Zoo Denver. I sang The Bad Touch by Bloodhound Gang and Suck on My Chocolate Salty Balls from the Chef Aid album, the South Park Chef Aid album, and then went down the street and happened to fit the description of someone that they were looking for and had warrants, and ended up going to jail that night, and thus began my relationship with kind of that neighborhood. And we played there when it was the Cherry Pit, and the very last time we played it as the Cherry Pit, I shit myself right before we went on stage, and ran down. At that point, the office wasn't down in the basement, the green room was. So you had to go down that ramp backstage to go down into the basement to go to the green room, and they kept beer down there for everybody and everything. And we were very irresponsibly sharing alcohol with some of our underage friends, and so they took our beer. They told us we were 86 from the club. This is like after we get off stage, we find out that we're 86 from the club, and they locked the green room so we couldn't get anything that was down there. So I was unable to retrieve my shitty underwear from the green room at the Cherry Pit.
Chocolate salty drawers.
Yeah. Chocolate salty drawers, and so I just had to leave them there. And then there was a story, and I won't tell the whole story, but there was a story about a fire that started down there, and I always liked to joke that my underwear acted as an accelerant, and actually helped the fire that brought Three Kings into the world. And we played there ever since then. So from the very beginning, 14 years ago, we were trying to play there as much as possible. We were, encouraged and supported by everyone who worked at that place, everybody who ran that place, Jim, Jeff, and Jim actually used to book us at the Bluebird Theater. We ended up getting 86 from there because I was drunk and threw a soda can off the stage, which landed near the soundboard, which was being operated by Jeff Campbell's now wife, Daniela, Yeah, and so they shut down the show, turned on the house lights, kicked us. They kicked me out, and I'm like, I'm supposed to be playing right now, and they put us on stage, turned on the house lights. It was a really awful thing, and I ended up. First time I remember ever talking to Jim Norris, it was at the bar at the Ogden, and I had to go up and kiss his ass and tuck my tail between my legs and apologize for our behavior. And then I ended up buying Daniela a bottle of Stoli vodka and like leaving a note on it that's like, "We're sorry," and all this stuff. And then, after that, Three Kings opened up, and we became a staple of the place. When I say we probably played a couple hundred shows there, that's probably not an exaggeration. We in fact played most of our shows there. Yeah, I'm very sad to hear about it, man. Just very sad.
Yeah, it sucks. James Freeman says, Ann and I chose our first place together in 2007, partially based on its proximity to Three Kings.
Really?
And he also says that's a hell of a shit.
That's a hell of a shit. Yeah, man. Well, some of you will remember James from the episode that we did with him on the show, where he talked about his life in recordings of unknown origin, and I want to say James released over something like, I think he said 42 shows. There's 42 of the recordings that he did, the live recordings that he did, were at Three Kings. That's a lot.
Yeah. He recently sent me some stuff, and then he's been posting some good stuff. And I recently downloaded his what was it? Is it the Bluebird, Mr. Bungle show from like 99 or 2000, somewhere around there. The California tour. And that's the same. I saw that same show, a couple different shows, like in Nebraska and Kansas, and so they must have been around the same time. It was really cool to listen to. I've been listening to that a lot lately. Thanks, James.
Dude, you're kind of like the James Freeman of Kansas a little bit.
Well, I'm not quite as prolific. I mean, I recorded some shows, but it was mostly like local stuff. I just
mean in terms of like nerdship and fandom.
Oh, absolutely.
I just mean disposition wise. You guys are very similar. Hey, we gotta post in the comments from our buddy Tony V from Tony V's Garage in Everett, Washington, which is kind of like the Three Kings of Washington, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, clubs have come and gone in the Seattle area, but Tony has just kept thriving and really putting his blood, sweat, and tears into growing something, and philosophically is very similar to the way that the Three Kings guys operate. And Tony says, "Hey guys, sitting in a very dark club in Everett, Washington." Tony, I really am pulling for you, man. I hope you guys can keep the business open. We love you so much, man.
We're pulling for everyone out there, man. Like this,
Right.
I hope this isn't a harbinger of things to come. You know what I mean? Like I just, it's bad enough losing one of these places. I can't imagine losing more. But
and we almost certainly will. And
I know it's inevitable. It seems like it sucks, man.
It sucks. And I mean, and that's something. I want to leave this episode mostly for talking about Kings specifically, but maybe we should just pivot and touch on that for a minute. Is just like, what is the prediction for what's going to happen to the smaller clubs? Is it going to be, the hungriest ones are going to survive? Is it going to be there's nothing that the smaller clubs can do? Is it going to be something that there has to be some sort of aid from whether the federal government or the state? I mean, what is the recourse here? Like, what are these smaller clubs going to be able to do to stay around? I saw Karen Kuda posted something about Save Our Stages or something like that. There's some.
I think it's Neva. Neva's the name of the act, I think.
Have you been following this at all, Gordo? Like,
say what? I'm sorry.
have you been following this at all? Like, what are your thoughts? You're generally pretty up to date on a lot of this stuff.
I try to be. There's a lot of news going around, but I know that we're trying to get lawmakers, trying to get the attention of lawmakers, so that there's a specific relief package that involves independent venues and
Live entertainment venues.
Yeah, and I think that is called NEVA. If I'm wrong, could be wrong, might be right. Who knows?
Hey, real quick, we've got Gretchen Harwick is on. She of course was a big fan of Three Kings. Pretty much lived there when she was living here in town, and I mean that was where she spent a great deal of her time. It's good to talk to you, Gretch. Hope you're doing well out there in Nebraska. James said, I've known Jim, Jeff, and Marty since the late 90s NIPP days. We were stoked when they opened up Kings. Was crushed on Friday when I heard the news. Yeah, man, it's like, I mean, the fact of the matter is that, and I mean, I want to speak as honestly as possible. You know, we had kind of drifted away from Kings a little bit, simply, you know, I mean, maybe I worked there for long enough that I saw how the sausage was made, or I just, you know, being in the bar environment, I just needed some distance or something like that. But we had kind of we had kind of pivoted away from Three Kings a little bit and had focused more on our national and international stuff. And really just kind of focusing on, you know, doing like opening slots when we could here in Denver, and didn't, you know, kind of missed out on a lot of the on the local stuff that was going on after I left. But hearing about Three Kings shutting down was like hearing about CBGB in New York getting shut down. You know, as far as I was concerned, that was an institution that we would always be able to return to, that we would always like come back to the stage and feel happy and at home, like I mean, it just felt like a place that we belonged in. You know what I mean? No matter what was going on.
It was like home base. Like, you know, you'd build up for all these shows and get prepped for them, and then it was like, oh, we're gonna have a King show. It's just gonna be laid back. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna see all our homies, and it's just gonna be a crazy good time. So, yeah, I think an analogy to CBGB's is pretty fitting. You know?
I mean, that's what I always called it. I always referred to it as the CBGB of the Rockies.
And anytime somebody was in town, even back when like Broadway was in its heyday, it was like, where should I go? You know, you'd meet somebody at the bar, and it was like, where should I go? Where should I go? Like tonight to figure out what to do. It was like, go to Three Kings. It was like that bar or like one of the other bars on the other side of town. But Three Kings was always like number one. Like, go check out what they have going on. There's probably live music.
Right.
Yeah, I only went to CBGB once, but I think the comparison is very apt.
Well, philosophically, you know what I mean? Like when I worked there, I took the time because it was really important to me to do the best job I possibly could as a manager there. So I sat down with all three of those guys individually and interviewed each one of them and asked them, you know, why is this place important? What is the most, you know, what is important about this place? Like what is your vision for Three Kings? Like I was trying to get a sense of like what the values of the place was, what the mission was of the owners. And it all came down to pretty much the same thing in different ways, which was, you know, treat every band like a rock star, you know, treat every patron like a welcome guest. I think there was one time where like I had to sit down with Jeff Campbell, and Jeff Campbell said something to the effect of like, he's like, I want the big tough biker at one end of the bar to feel comfortable there. I want I want the trans woman at the other end of the bar to just feel beautiful and welcome and appreciated. I want the punk rockers to feel like they have a place. I want metalheads to feel like they have a place. I want people wandering in off the street to feel like they can come in and join and be part of something. You know, and like inclusivity was such an important part of their message, of their mission, and like
That's awesome.
creating something cool. You know what I mean? Like, if you read David Byrne's book, How Music Works, there's a chapter in it where he does a breakdown of the factors that made CBGB work. And I was reading through that and just reading all the like the little tricks that you do to make, like, I think the chapter in the book is called Making a Scene. And you read the parts that he's talking about, and it's all stuff that Three Kings adopted, whether they did it knowingly or not, or it just came through osmosis of their own study. But it's like, you know, make sure that you have some sort of policy related to either free or discounted admission for local musicians. Like, you have to make it a place that local musicians and artists want to hang out. And that was the thing,
Right.
you know,
Smart.
and I mentioned in one of my posts, like, working at Three Kings did more for my music career than any of the shows that we played in 20 plus years as a band.
That doesn't surprise me.
I mean, seriously, it was just because of the breadth of people that you met up with.
Look at those guys.
Want to
Just
give a couple
hanging out,
shout outs here to some
howling
people
around.
joining the stream. Bram Swanson is up in this bitch. Colden King, what's up, Colden? Joe Hendricks, Phil
You
Deeds,
this guy? You
Joey
that guy?
Klontz. Hey, that is Colden.
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah, man. Shout out to everybody jumping on. If you're just joining us, we're sharing some Three Kings memories. We had some technical difficulties, but we're getting it rolling. There is a link in the description to the Skype call that we're on. We tried just doing the phone number. It didn't quite work. But we're gonna try. So if you click the link and you've got Skype on your phone or on your computer, you should be able to call in. We'd love to hear your voice. We won't be able to get your video on, but we will get your voice. Joey, what's up, my man? How you doing?
What's up,
yeah.
Joey? How you doing?
So, Gordo, tell me about the very first time that you went to Three Kings, because I don't remember.
First time I went to Three Kings, Mark Starr was doing karaoke, and I did a song. I was super drunk. I sang into two microphones at once, and then did like a mic drop of some type. And he came up and bit me on the neck, and I was like, I love this place. I love it. I love these guys. It's great.
Yeah, man.
And I think that we were playing like that night. I think we were playing somewhere else in town, but that was the first. That was the first time I ever went there, and
You know what Kings always was, is the place you had to play next time. Like I would meet so many people that they're like, oh, we came to Denver and we weren't impressed. We thought it was this, shithole town with nothing going on. And then we met you guys and started playing Three Kings, and we found out like, oh, this is the place that we need to go to next time that we're in town. Like, it's like,
right.
like anytime, like Logan and Gordo, I'm sure you've had this experience too. There have been plenty of times where we've gone cold into a town and played some little shithole,
Yeah.
and then met somebody that's like, oh, you guys need to try out this club next time you're in town.
Yeah, you got to play up the street at the so-and-so.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
And I mean, and it's awesome because, like, I've been able to get lots of bands shows at Three Kings over the years. Like, they've just been super receptive to, like, if you've played there a number of times, like my band has, then, they're just like, sure. Like, we trust you. We'll book this guy, or we'll book this band or whatever. Right. And they were super cool about it, and that's just a really, I don't know. They've always had a really fantastic relationship with the community here. You know, like
Well, they give so
it's
much.
super cool.
They give so much autonomy and agency to the community. You know.
Yeah.
And they'll all three probably admit, and in fact, I think I've heard all of them admit separately at one time or another that the place was pretty much running itself. Like when I was there, it was like a living organism. You know, the bar just ran itself. Like Marty did the schedule, and everybody knew when they were supposed to work. But then there was like a Google Calendar that a handful of people had access to. All the owners and then the managers would have access to this calendar, and you would add stuff. Or if you weren't a manager or you weren't one of the booking people there or an owner, you knew someone who was. You'd send them a text or shoot them an email or something like that. They would check the Google Calendar and then throw it right on. I mean, before I started working there, I would just send Jim Norris a text message, and he'd go, yeah, that date's open, or no, that date's not open, and would let me just do whatever I wanted to do. And so there was this constant stream of people that were coming in that just had been given the date and a few guidelines on how to behave and what time to be there, and they'd make up a schedule every night and just let's see what happens. You know what I mean? There was very little micromanagement where the events side was concerned. And that was what made it so cool, is you'd have like one day you'd have some pinball art installation thing with the Bloodshed Death Bath guys, you know, Ryan Pollocky and the gang, and you'd have open mic comedy, and then you'd have burlesque on Mondays, and then someone would be trying to make something on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, and you'd have your punk rock show, and then you'd have your, you know, your death metal show, and you'd have, you know, someone like fucking Dale Watson. I saw Dale Watson at Three Kings, man. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, I think that like all ties in together. You know, you're talking about
Right.
how it was a place for, you know, the art community and the musicians and like everybody in town, and how it was, you know, the place you need to play next time. Everybody has that friend in another band that's like, next time you guys come, play Three Kings. And I think with
Right.
such a tight community, everybody had bands coming in, and that's why so many people knew about it all across, you know, the country.
I like your backdrop, Logan. That's great.
Thanks. I've got more where that came from.
Yeah.
I got
love
some
that.
tricks up my grubby little mitts.
Yes.
See, I can't do
keep
one
it
because
rolling.
I'm not on like I'm talking to you guys on Skype, but my video for this is running off the camera, and it's like off the good camera, and I can't do the funny backgrounds with the good camera. Like I'm glad we have a good camera and everything, but I'm like feeling left out because you guys all have silly backgrounds.
You know what's funny is
I'll
watching you
try to
on
find some
Skype.
funny pictures of you.
Watching you on Skype is like watching an anti-drug commercial because your spliff is totally blurred out. It's like
I know.
we can't show this right now. This is just this is material that we can't be sharing with our audience.
And then you got the NA beer on the
know.
table. It's like,
I'm an enigma. What can I say? Hey,
Good touch.
are you in or are you out, buddy?
right. Joey Clont says, so cool that the only place that I've ever played in Denver was at Three Kings with you guys. That was a great moment when we
That
had
was-
Joey
that was
Clontz
great.
come up and play drums on Hall of
was there
Champions
for
at
that.
Three Kings.
That was fun. That
That was
cool.
amazing. Hey, shout out to Jamie C. and Ty Blosser jumping on the call. Who's Ty
Hey
Blosser?
guys,
Where do we know that
Who
guy
is Ty
from?
Blosser?
I don't know. I think he owes us money, or maybe we owe him money. I think it's that one. Yeah.
Hey, just an update. NEVA is the name of the organization I was talking about, the National Independent Venue Association, and Save Our Stages is a part of that. So just to clarify that, if you want to go to that, you can go to what is it? NIVASSOC.org.
Can you
and
throw it
jump
in
on
the in the comments for us, Gordo,
Yeah.
that people can check
Yeah.
it out? And what's the mission of
Absolutely.
this? What's the mission of this organization? Just so people know.
It's pretty cut and dried. Save Our Stages. That's like that pretty much sums it up right there. It's really about getting attention on this at that legislative level. You know, like letting lawmakers know, like, hey, like these places are in serious fucking trouble,
And they're
something-
essential.
Yeah, Yeah,
You know,
and
it's,
something
it's
needs to be done,
essential.
and so
And the thing about businesses like this is they can't open up, slowly. Like a business like, Three Kings or a venue or bars or bar restaurants is the way they operate is they have success when they're full, when they're at capacity and people are spending money, that's how they stay afloat. And if you limit how many people they can have and then they reopen, it just, in my brain, it doesn't really make sense.
Well, dude, it totally destroys their margins, which are almost non-existent in the first place.
Right.
yeah,
And I've mentioned this a couple times. Like we were talking about having dine-in guests over at Fire on the Mountain, and it would be a nightmare because we've completely switched over basically to being a production kitchen now. We wouldn't be able to manage that side, which is actually keeping us afloat, and stir in adding people. With the margins are so small in the bar and restaurant business that you have to, in order to succeed, you have to hit those high volumes. You have to have those rushes. You have to get a lot of bodies in the door. You have to do volume, and if you've got a limited footprint, like if you've got a limited physical footprint in your space, and you try and say, well, everybody's got to stand 6 feet apart, like you just, or move out onto the pat. You've seen some people who've been opening up seating out in the street and things like that. Like even that, I don't think that you could possibly even get close to the scale that you need to be at to be a sustainable bar or restaurant business.
Did you guys hear about the place in I think it's in New York that opened up just at I think it was 15% capacity, and they put mannequins in the
did hear about
in
that.
the unused booths that are in 40s garb or something like that. It's like a 3 Michelin star place or something
No.
And that's kind of creepy.
Did you see the Korean videos of people they put sex dolls in the audience?
Oh, shit. That's great.
Hold on, I'm gonna probably totally fuck up my Google algorithm by looking this up, but Korean sex dolls
stolen.
audience.
Just so you know, just the link I threw up there for Neva, if you click on that link, you can actually sign a petition that will be sent to our legislators that will hopefully get some action going for independent
Okay,
venues.
so
Cool.
I've got this screen cap going here. Yeah, South Korean football team apologizes for using sex dolls to fill stands. This is in The Guardian. This is fucking hilarious. Look at this. Look at this.
Oh my god.
That's great.
Oh man. Yeah,
That
Good
is
on you.
that is
that
nuts.
is good stuff. Yeah.
I got a good Aaron picture for the background.
Oh no.
Go.
Yeah.
What is that from?
I think it might have been Boy West.
Is that burlesque or is that us playing a show? I can't
No,
tell.
It's not us. I don't know who this fella is behind you, but
Do you know who that fella is in front of me?
That's Mr. Quigley.
Mr. Quigley.
Quickly.
How you doing, Mr. Quigley?
I got one more of
That's
those.
funny.
There we go.
Oh,
Oh man. Hey, we got some more chat here. We got some more chat
I
here.
talked to Mr. Quigley the other day when
I
I
did?
found out about it.
How's he
we
doing?
Skyped a shot. He's doing great. I mean, his beard and his mustache are a little unkempt because he's going through a tough time. But I'm not holding it against him.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of some drippage, some goo in there. I don't know what it was.
oh.
James Freeman says, my buddies that work up in North Glen with developmentally disabled adults used to do a band group with the Consumers, and once a year they would play a show at Three Kings. One year the band Rock and Roll Hot Dogs.
Rock and Roll Hot Dogs.
And it was Rock and Roll Hot Dogs, and what was the other one? It was Oh, there was another group. It was like two groups, wasn't it? I can't remember. But no, I didn't work that, James, but I remember hearing about that and just thinking that is so fucking cool, man. They did School of Rock too. Like I worked a bunch of the School of Rock shows, and they were so fun, man. James also says, I worry that any help for venues from the government is going to end up going to AEG and that ilk, not the little guys. Yeah, I mean, we already saw that happen in the restaurant business with.
Yeah, that's already happening. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that with the restaurant business with like Roots Chris, and there was one other corporation that they ended up giving the money back because they got shamed into giving the money back. They're
because the almighty internet attacked the shit out of them, and it's just like, yo, I'm not gonna buy your okay steak if you don't give the shit back. And they were like, fuck, we better.
See, sometimes the internet works.
Right.
Sometimes
it's a cool thing. Sometimes it's all right.
You know?
They gave their money back. I think Potbelly gave their money back.
Yeah.
They did.
Burger King did not, from what I understand. So,
of course they didn't.
Burger King anyway.
He's the king.
Burger King.
He's the king. The king doesn't give money back. Jamie Sieb says, I met y'all 9 or 10 years ago at a UMS after show in the Three Kings basement.
That's
I've
right.
had art shows there that ended up being my home bar. So many shows and friends leading the last 4 years with Ooh La La. That is, man.
Hell yeah.
Do you ever like have those It's a Wonderful Life moments where like people will share a story with you and they're like, were it not for you guys in ... this context, I would have never done ... Like, and you like wonder like, what would it be like if I just hadn't been there? And like you think of the connections that wouldn't happen. That's such a beautiful chain of events because Jamie, like, I remember. I don't really remember meeting anyone. I should say that. I don't really remember meeting anyone because when I meet
sometimes
someone,
that can be hard. Yeah.
Well, because when
first impression parts.
Right. Well, that's the thing though. Is like, I used to drink a lot, so that's a big part of it. But another big part of it is like once you come into my life, it's just like you've always been there. You know what I mean? You just become a part of the panorama of beautiful characters that I love throughout the world. That's kind of just how it ends up happening. I don't know why, like, with very few exceptions, Logan and I can't even agree necessarily how I met he and his brother. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little fuzzy at times whether I met Logan first or I met Marshall first or what the situation was because we met when we were little kids. They've just always been there. You know what I mean? But what I will say is that, Jamie, I have watched that transition from you, like, being around. Oh, you know what? I remember when I first started really meeting you was when you worked at the hot dog joint, and Logan really knew you well and kind of became more acquainted that way. I think is the way that was.
She was one of my favorite regulars at Benny Blanco's when I was.
That's what it was, right?
You know, back in the Benny Blanco's days, and she would come in and order a PBJ slice, and everybody would be, "What's a PBJ?" And it was pepperoni, bacon, jalapeno. And
look at you.
From that point on, that was the PBJ slice, and
that's a goddamn good slice.
That's a good slice.
And
a good slice. And if it weren't for Jamie, that slice wouldn't exist, man.
Yeah, she invented it. No, everybody there knew her as PBJ. It was just like, PBJ, what's up, girl? And,
no, but I mean, I've watched her. I've watched her go from being this, like, acquaintance to like being a regular at King's, and then going from being a regular at King's and a friend, and someone from our world that, like, going into burlesque and becoming a staple of the burlesque performers. Same with like Tori Weiler, who ended up becoming like a stage kitten and like kind of a left-hand lady to Michelle and Kitty. Like, it's amazing to see, like, people who you saw come in go on and be a part of the infrastructure of the artistic and musical community. You know what I mean? It's an amazing thing to observe. Amazing thing to observe.
Super cool.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to Julie Shively. Hey, my ex-wife, Hannah Lindsay's on here. What's up, girl?
Hey.
Adrian Jadwinski, what's up, girl? Good to see ya. Wiley Miranda is on here, and Jennifer Mendoza. Thanks for joining the stream, guys. Yeah, Jamie says PB&J. That's right. Phil Deed says, I remember all you guys from Kennedy and when I dated Colleen Thompson. Okay,
right.
I've brought this up before. Phil, so the first time...
how long it took me to put that together? Like,
Dude.
I've known him, like, throughout the scene for, like, ever. And I was just like, oh, yeah, he's that Phil.
Yeah.
It took me quite a while.
So Colleen
It's not
Thompson, Mina Thorkell's sister, was my babysitter when I was a kid. And I hung out with Mina, and we went to school together. We went to DSA together. Colleen babysat me. Phil was her boyfriend. And then later on, Mina and I ended up in a musical at Kennedy because they needed extra people. And I remember seeing Phil standing around Kennedy in his cool guy leather jacket with his fucking Warlock Pinchers crest on the back of it and being like, whoa, that's Phil. That's the infamous Colleen's boyfriend, Phil. What a badass, you know? And then, you know, later on getting into Warlock Pinchers and watching a lot of Music Link and Punk TV and stuff like that. Did you guys have anything like that, Gordo, in Kansas growing up, like public access rock and roll music video shows?
Not so much. Not so much. There was Channel 6 in Lawrence, and they did a lot of like cool, like band oriented shows, but it was very
Dude, this
Oh
is
my
what this
God.
is what all my family happy hour Zoom calls look like, by the way, is me just sitting there changing backgrounds and cracking myself up while they talk about other shit.
That is hilarious. That is really
Anyway,
funny.
yeah, so we had this thing out here.
This is what all
Oh,
my
whoops.
family happy
Sorry.
hour Zoom.
The local PBS affiliate here had this show called Music Link that was sponsored by Wax Trax and Twist and Shout. Hey, shout out to Wax Trax and Twist and Shout. Help them stay open. Buy fucking records, man. And Chain Reaction Records. Help them out. Help them out. Help them out. Help them out. Buy
I
shit.
just bought some fine wax tracks the other day.
Yeah.
Felt really good.
But they used to sponsor this public access show called Music Link, and then there was a tangential series called Punk TV that was like a spin-off of that, and so they would show like 16 horsepower videos, and I saw the first time I saw I'm Just a Girl by No Doubt was on Punk TV. Guttermouth, saw them on Punk TV, and then like 16 horsepower and Frank Black and all sorts of cool 90s, all like late 90s alternative stuff. Like you would see that on Music Link. Do you remember that shit, Logan?
What's that? I just went and took a pic.
Music Link and Punk TV. You remember that shit?
Yeah, I do.
It looks like Josh has joined us.
He did. He said he said, guys, I'm painting weed. See you later.
Hey, Josh
Typical.
says, love Gordo background. Hannah says, that's the Logan I remember.
I'm assuming she's talking about the big chubby guy with smoke coming out of his face.
Hey, Julie K. Larry joined from Washington. What's up, Julie?
Hannah says, thanks for the work break. We've been, me and Hannah have been sending back and forth pictures from Three Kings, and one of the nights where a lot of pictures were taken was the Play Freebird night. It was a Monsters of Rock Halloween where we did all Leonard Skinner covers. And the green room that night was lit, yo. It was just, we were partying.
Dude, I'm like,
a whole lot of, but there are pictures of that night.
I am legitimately embarrassed by how much drinking and drugging I did the night of that show. Like, dude, I'm like looking at some of the pictures, and I am so fucking faded in these pictures. I'm going to see if I can find them here.
You gotta embrace it, man.
Oh yeah, I know. And I mean, actually, Han and I kind of talked about that. You know, it's like, you know, we wouldn't be who we were, or we wouldn't be who we are without who we were.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, that's always true.
And that's a real bitch of it all, man. That's a real bitch of it all. And here's the thing. A lot of the embarrassing shit that I've done has happened at Three Kings. You know what I mean? Like this building was not only a place that I went to shows or to play shows. It was like developmentally, like I grew up with this place. Like I went through I'm 38 now, which means that I was 24 when Three Kings opened. So I went through pretty much all of my 20s and almost all of my 30s with this fucking building, man. You know, it's like people who are probably kind of distanced from it, who are looking at this whole situation going, yeah, you know, some businesses are going to close down and some bars aren't going to make it, and that's just going to be the way it is. We're just going to have to suck it up and deal with it. It's like, man, this is more than just like the neighborhood bar closing down. This is like, this is like seeing the house you grew up in leveled by a bulldozer and a fucking condo put up in its place. You know what I mean? Like, it's like logically you understand that progress is going to happen and it's just a matter of time and nothing stands forever. Like, you can look at it as an adult and rationalize that, but still have that little kid in you just absolutely heartbroken by the fact that something that has been a part of you forever is going to be gone. You know, it's like, you don't plan on keeping your stuffed animals your whole life, but if you find out your mom throws your favorite stuffed animal away or gives it to Goodwill, it hurts your heart a little bit, you know, because it's a part of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Actually, I want to bring up some of these pictures. I can do it. I have the ability to share the screen on the stream.
You have the technology.
I have the technology. Yeah, man. Just like for those who haven't seen it, there has been this just absolute photo dump. There's a group called, what is it called? It's called Fun Times Three Kings.
I think it's Three Kings photo dump, right?
I don't think it,
Yeah.
is there more than one?
Three Kings
Fun Time photo drop.
Okay.
Three Kings Fun Time photo drop.
Yeah, man. Like,
I'm gonna drop that in the comments there.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Three
pretty cool
Kings
group.
Fun Time photo drop.
We're learning.
Dude, I mean, and I mentioned this in a discussion yesterday. Man, somebody needs to compile all this stuff and make it into a book. Like, Logan, you remember that club that we played in Vienna? U41 or whatever it is, that was like, I guess it was a fairly major discotheque in like, it's a fairly historical.
Yeah, it was like a live venue first, and then afterwards it was dancey crazy party.
Right. Well, like the the owner, when I went into the back, the owner gave me a book that somebody had made about the club. And it was a bunch of photographs from like throughout its history. And dude, it was a nice picture book, like really nice hardcover picture book, and like all these articles written in it. It was all in German, so I couldn't read it. But like somebody who, if anybody out there watching has been thinking of a new literary project to do or photo project, I would love to see a history of Three Kings book, because it's like, this isn't something that should go eke into the crevices of local folklore. Like this should be considered as historically impactful as a place like CBGB or what was it, the off Broadway, the one where Kennedy's did the final show. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but let's see if I can.
I'm
do
not
this.
sure. Look it up.
Yeah.
Look up your factoids.
You're on the computer, man.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah, I'm
only
on the
time I went to CBGB's, we saw this band Unita, which is like a spin-off of some dudes that used to be in Caius. I don't know if you're aware of them. But
Caius?
well, Caius you probably heard of. Unita maybe you've heard of. I don't know. But their singer was in Caius, and he was chatting up quite a bit about his disdain for Queens of the Stone Age through the whole set. I know. He called them Queens of the Trust Fund. It was quite crushing.
Dude. That's that's a dwarves thing.
Yeah,
that's
it's
a
like,
dwarves thing. They mention, if you listen to the album, it's on which one? Logan, what's the name of the album with the crucified dwarf on the front with the two chicks? Which album is that?
I don't remember.
Blood Guts and is it Blood Guts and Pussy?
with the blood all over him and stuff.
On that album is a song.
Dwarves are young and good looking.
No. There's a track on that album called Demented or something like that, and he has this whole outro thing where he just completely rips on Queens of the Stone Age and calls them Queens from the Trust Fund. And we had a guy from some band, who shall remain nameless, who stayed at our house and was saying that there was some issue with where, because of that track, Blag and then Josh from Queens had some beef and got into a fight, and Josh ended up catching some sort of charge as a result of it and fucked his life up, basically, because Blag went on and ripped on him on this track, man. It's like, man, that's just nasty. The guys did good for themselves. Why you gotta hate? All right. I got
Gretchen says Alita is still waiting on her frisbee from your abroad tour. James Freeman said people are still talking about the 15th Street Tavern, and it has been closed as long as Three Kings was open. So,
oh man,
I mean, people aren't going to stop talking about Kings.
No, that's a good point, James. Yeah, no, that is a very good point. People are still talking a lot about the 15th Street Tavern. I mean, that's kind of considered an iconic place here in town, and so iconic, in fact, that when the Rockaway opened, they installed a piece of the 15th Street Tavern's wall.
I remember that stuff. That shit was so cool. Like the big soup cup thing. I love the imagery, and the fact that was in there was pretty cool.
Right. No, that's a good point, James. And then
look at these nerds.
Out of the ashes, something else will come back. Hey, you know what? Now that you're bringing that up, I do have to say one thing that I'm very proud of is that I got to play the last set of the last show at Three Kings. I am very happy that I had that honor.
I am so upset that I missed that show. And
Yeah,
it was
me
because
too.
of this whole thing. It was because of this thing. I was already deep into the isolation trip, so
yeah, I'm really, there's a backlash that I'm kind of afraid of. I'm afraid of the backlash from society if we come out of this thing and all the people who disseminate data and disseminate information start to figure things out and start to point out with irrefutable data the places that we went wrong and see the unnecessary casualties, including the businesses that shut down as a result of this. There's a part of me that is afraid of seeing what the backlash will be like when we come out of this and see that maybe some people closed down that didn't need to close down, or maybe some people experienced trauma or torment of some sort that they didn't need to experience. You know what I mean? Just because of how the ball was dropped by so many people who were supposed to have our best interests at heart.
hey, we have some comments. I'm only seeing like half of. I can't see the whole comment. Can you see the whole comment stream,
From
Logan?
Nick Colheed, I can see
We
everything.
also have Lacey.
Mine are kind of cut off. I need to reconfigure my screen.
Okay,
here.
Lacey says, I have so many memories at Three Kings. Thanks for all the great years and for always being there for Lily and I. Love you guys.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Right on, Lacey. Nicholas Colheed. Hey, what's up, Nicholas Colheed? Love you, dude. I was more excited for my first show at King's than my first show at the Bluebird. Played a Friday in 2011 for my first show. 95 more people were at my first King's show than my first Bluebird show.
Nice.
Also, I remember walking from the Walnut Room in a blizzard to King's to watch MF Ruckus. You never wanted to miss one of those Three Kings nights. You never knew when they would happen. But if you were there for an epic night, life seemed more complete. That's beautifully said, man.
whoa.
That's beautifully said. And it's true.
That's awesome.
Like, there were times that I went to shows there, I was working shows there, where I would legitimately think, like, someday people are going to lie about having been here, you know, or seeing something that, I mean, we got to see shows there before everybody had a TV studio in their pocket. You know, we can live stream stuff now, and anybody can upload to YouTube now, but, you know, when they first started out, there was internet video, but it wasn't as ubiquitous as it is now. So there was a lot more
True.
events. There was a lot more events that if you weren't there for it, you weren't fucking there for it, man.
I was
You
thinking
know?
about that too. Like, even it doesn't seem like that long ago, but when we first started jamming at Three Kings, like quite a bit, like the poster game was a big part of, you know, promoting your shows. Like Tay
Right.
used to go around town in his van with a stack of posters and just, you know, cream the town with
Oh, yeah.
with those motherfuckers.
We used to
And
call
I
it going
remember-
all city, man.
Yeah, all city. And I remember people being like, nobody flyers like you guys do. Nobody.
What's
puts
up, Jim?
like you guys.
Jim Norris joined.
Hey,
Hey, everybody. We're joined in the comments by one of the OG Kings himself, Mr. Jim Norris. Jim, I was just telling the story a short time ago about one of the first times we met. I think we talked about it on the episode. You and Matt were on here for the podcast about what a royal pain in the ass we were to you, and then you guys took us under your wing over at Kings and changed the trajectory of our career as we know it. And I was just mentioning to everybody how we pretty much grew up with you, man. We were hanging around Kings from the time we were in our mid-20s to now our early 20s now to our late 30s, and it could be argued that you guys were surrogate parents for us and our band, and we just appreciate you and Jeff and Marty and everybody who has come in and out of that bar so much, man. So much love to you, Jim. So much love to you, man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Super supportive dude, always.
Hey, Lacey Joe. Much love to you too, girl. Yes, you were. I guess being a pain in the ass is what he was saying. Yeah, man. And it was you know, and well, let's talk about, you know, James made the point earlier in the discussion about how 15th Street Tavern went away and people still talk about it, and, you know, bands like Queens of the Stone Age and Caius and Speed Dealer and Nashville Pussy and 100,000 other bands, you know, went through there and then became these bigger things. We are going to one day see a time when a new place opens up and they talk about all the bands that came in and out of Three Kings and now went on to prominence, and something else will form in the wake. I mean, to a degree, things have already formed in the wake. I mean, Mutiny is now going on how many years, and are just doing fantastic stuff for the community. By the way, shout out to one of our sponsors of the podcast, Mutiny Information Cafe, 2 South Broadway, down in the Baker District. Go by, check out records, books, comics, get a cup of coffee through the window, and
Go buy everything.
yeah, and
Go buy
someday
everything.
get to see a badass local live all ages show someday. No one has a larger selection of Torini syrups. Nobody.
Nobody.
I don't know. I've got quite a few. No, I don't have.
Well, you got a few behind you there, Logan.
Jim
Oh, yeah.
says Jim says,
There's a
I
bar.
loved
Where is
watching.
everybody, by the way.
Yeah, right. Jim says, I loved watching all the scene grow up. Yeah, man. Well, we're really glad that you were around for it, brother. Really glad that you got to be a part of it, man. Hey, Tori Weiler's in the house. We were just talking about you and your trajectory to burlesquedom. Well, welcome to the podcast,
Did
Tori.
you guys
Sorry
hear-
for
you guys
anybody who
hear
tried to
Brett
call in and it didn't work.
Yeah.
That was really frustrating and annoying, but I'm really glad we were able to get a conversation going.
Did you guys hear about that guy who broke into a bar and was like living off of their alcohol and food for like 4 or 5 days
No.
during all this? I
That's
can't
an
remember
incredible
where
story.
it was, but he found a way in and he made himself at home. And I mean, I don't suggest doing that, but I was just like, wow, this guy knows what he wants, you know?
He's like, I miss my bar.
I gotta go.
That guy's got the right idea. It's not. I don't know. I think he was more successful in his goals than the guy that lived above the Waffle House. You ever see those videos? The guy that came crashing through the ceiling of the Waffle House. Wow.
Was the Lions Lair a Waffle House at one point? Is that what you're trying to say?
Hey, so guys,
Lions Lair /
Yes.
Waffle House.
tell me something. What was your favorite show at Three Kings? We won't even say absolute favorite, but your top three favorite shows at Three Kings that either you played or watched.
Okay. All right.
You can do either.
Oh man, that's hard.
Hey, and those of you who are in the comments, definitely throw some stuff in the comments. We want to hear what some of your favorite shows were.
Shows, I mean, filming the We Don't Party video was pretty great. I know it was weird to film a video and like play a song 3 times but it was like all the homies up front, and that was really fun. I mean, the Monsters of Mock shows, as much as towards the end I started complaining about them because they were a nightmare. They were a lot of fun, and I mean, taught me personally how to play music better. Like learning Leonard Skinner bass lines and learning Iron Maiden bass lines. As soon as that was over, I was a different guy, you know?
Well, that was a really cool thing about just the vibe at Kings. It was like it had this very this nature which was very open to experimentation. It's like, let's just try a thing and see what happens. And worst case scenario, you know, like Jeff and Jim and Marty all said, every party comes to an end. You know what I mean? Eventually the doors are going to close. Eventually the lights are going to shut off, and we'll just hit reset tomorrow and try it all again. So it was this attitude of like, let's try a thing and see what happens tonight. You know what I mean? And so when you did these Monsters of Mock shows, it's like, let's invite a bunch of our friends' bands. Let's try and take on something that's a huge challenge for us. And we might eat shit, but chances are we're going to put in a lot of work. We're going to do something really cool, and it's going to be super rewarding, and it's going to make us better musicians for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
that kind of goes like any show you put on. One day you're going to eat the ass, you know?
Oh,
like,
yeah. Everybody eats the ass.
Hopefully it's going to go well, but one day you're going to eat the ass. And it's not going to be the good kind of ass either, you know?
Okay, now
James Freeman says Bruettia, all the electric funeral shows there, Spittin' Cobras, all good shows.
That is a man who has seen a lot of concerts too. Like, he has been to thousands of shows. So if he's able to narrow down the shows that he went to at Three Kings to those, that is a strong statement there. Yeah, I worked a couple of the electric funerals. They were always fucking awesome. Speedwolf at UMS was definitely up there. Speedwolf at UMS was fucking bonkers. That was definitely one. Yeah, the Spittin' Cobras were great. I didn't get to see the Brueria show. I have been kicking myself ever since, man. Seeing Dale Watson was pretty amazing. This was a really poorly attended show, but it was one of the best. I got to see Herbie from Valiant Thor has another project called Brief Lives. And so I got to see Brief Lives play with like 3 other people in the room, and it was fucking incredible. It was so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the best shows personally that I ever played there was the 10th anniversary show with you guys, and
that was so fun.
it was
Hell yeah.
yeah, that was fantastic. It was amazing. Oh
yeah.
wait, what's
the 10th anniversary show was insane.
Murphy's Law was really great.
Oh,
Murphy's Law School, Green Jello.
I wish I could say I remember the Murphy's Law show. That show, what is that? Who's ringing? Who's ding-a-linging?
I'm trying to turn this off here. Sorry, that's my end, guys.
The Murphy's Law show was cool. I definitely blacked out during their set. Seeing Green Jello was really cool because what's his name? Bill came out in the big platforms, the platforms for the character that he does from Electric Harley House of Love or whatever it is. And he came walking out on those platforms, and because Three Kings kind of has that short ceiling, like he like is having to like tilt his head to like walk under the high ass ceiling and shit. It was so good.
Dude,
Can we do anything about that?
just
There it goes.
there it goes. There it goes.
Matt Atkins says, anyone have pics of midget wrestling? Dude, those
saw
shows
some on
were
the,
insane.
I saw some on the page, the fun dump.
Yeah, Rocky from the Boogie Knots, he put up a picture of him, I want to say, stapling like a $20 bill to one of those guys' faces. Did you guys ever see any of the Enigma stuff when it was going on there?
Yeah.
Like all the chainsaws and... Dude, you could do anything there except fire. Like the one thing that they had, like you could even, like if the smoke alarm went off, there was a protocol. Like I was told that part of my job as being a manager was like, part of what you have to do now is when people set off the smoke alarm in the green room, you have to turn off the alarm so that the show doesn't get ruined, and then you have to bullshit the fire department and get yelled at by them when they show up and tell you you're not supposed to push the button. Like he's like, that's part of your job now. You can play dumb a couple of times, but at a certain point they make a note of it. And so like part of our job was when somebody would be smoking cigarettes or smoking weed, or someone would have a fog machine or something like that, and it would set up the smoke alarm. The fire department would come in, say that we, because you're supposed to kick everybody out when the fire alarm goes off. But the fire department would come in and they would find out that I pushed the button and they would just chew me out. And that was part of the gig. It was a pretty funny side of it. But, so you could even do that. But one thing you could not have was fire. And the story that I was told was that when Jim, Jeff, and Marty were working for NIPP, a fire marshal came and did a demo and showed them the footage from the Great White Show tragedy. And so they had this like thing where that like scared them straight, and like they would let so many things fly inside of that building. But I saw Jim just get so mad once when I want to say it was like the Zebroids or something like that during UMS started blowing off a bunch of fireworks, and Jim just ran up to the stage and was screaming at him, and it was just bedlam everywhere. And we can
the pyrotechnics, dude.
Yeah, they we had to have many a discussion with people about the pyrotechnics. James Freeman says, bummed I missed Dale Watson. Dude, James. So Dale Watson, his bus, he bought from Ray Price, the country singer Ray Price. And so he had this,
shit.
Oh, dude. So he had this old 70s, coach parked out in front of Three Kings. And I think the pedal steel player or Dale had a little crush on Hana, so they invited us onto the bus to hang out for a little bit. And dude, it was beautiful, and it was such an amazing show, man. Just Dale Watson, like I listened to that Live in London, England album that he put out over and over again. I listened to that till the wheels fell off. It was such a
That guy
good
puts
show.
on a hell of a show, man.
Dude, he's great. His live streams have been awesome. Dude, have you seen the live streams he's done?
Yeah. You mentioned it last time. I went back and caught one of them, and yeah, it's good
Really
shit.
Good. James said one of the Spit and Cobras shows I saw there had about 10 people in attendance. Yeah, that was definitely a band that in its time did not get the appreciation they deserved, man. Spit and Cobras are so good. Were so good. And now they got their new project Detonator, which is rad. I hope I get to do a show with those guys at some point when we can actually have shows. Hey, my Aunt Tammy Lee is on. Hi, Aunt Tammy. How are you? Matt Atkins says, my heart filled with joy when I saw a little guy run across the bar and body slam another little guy. 2-3 seconds of hang time. LOL. Oh yeah, man. Those guys were intense and they were cocky as fuck. They would put the moves on the girls behind the bar, man. Like these dudes would walk up and they'd be winking and just flirting and just like hardcore, man. Ready to party. Those guys, that's I get the feeling that that's all they do is travel around the country getting paid to beat each other up and try and hook up with waitresses and bartenders and shit. The midget wrestling guys? Dude, so good. So good. Let's take a look at some more of these photos that have been up on here. I wonder if you can just go directly to the photos that are shared. I wonder if there's just a photos thing that you can click. Maybe not. Let's take a look at some of these. I'm opening up the what do you call it? The page here, Logan.
What are you saying? What?
I'm opening up the page, the Three Kings Fun Time photo drop. It's been crazy how much people have been. Oh, don't panic fest, yeah.
The first day I heard about King's closing, I stayed off of social media just because it was a lot and it's pretty intense and a lot to take in. But then, like the next couple days, this page got started, and people were just sharing like memories and pictures and videos and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, okay, now it's the fun part, Now now it's remembering all the good stuff. So
I've got this
Man,
picture.
that couch, like, whose couch was that? And
That was our couch.
that was our couch?
That was our couch. That couch came from the old band house. And I'm just suffice to say I've seen some gross stuff happen on that couch. I've seen some very, very gross things happen on that couch. But this picture this picture is
no longer a couch.
I hope they burned that couch. Yeah, that Jerry donated it when he got a new couch. That is definitely our gross old couch. So this picture says The Business, sunk in and took pictures of them. So that's hilarious. That's so mean. These guys have been on the road and they're just trying to take a nap and someone's like, I snuck in and took pictures of them. There's a picture
that's road life for you, though.
There's a picture that I took. Hey, I guess it's just exciting to have someone wanting to take pictures of you. I have a picture in the ones that I dropped of me with Mickey Fitz from The
I
Business.
saw that. Yeah.
And he passed away not soon after that, and he could not have been a nicer dude when I met with him. I mean, my experience with him, and maybe other people have other experiences, but my experience with him was he was nothing but a nice guy, man.
Gretchen said we gave out fireworks at bingo. Huge no-no.
That's great. That's right. Gretchen was the bingo lady at Three Kings for a long time.
The bingo lady.
Yeah, she took over after God, why am I drawing a blank? Played keys for the trade-ins. Why am I drawing a fucking blank?
Oh, Mark Rossi?
No, before Mark Rossi, who was the original bingo dude.
The
Oh my
original bingo.
Oh my fucking god,
The
Gretchen,
original
help me
bingo,
out.
dude.
Oh my god. Oops.
James Freeman said, "Did you see any of the Shat shows that got noted?"
No, but we played with Shat at Skatopia.
We did.
Yeah, and
I
didn't one of the
almost
guys
died.
from Shat put you in a headlock?
Yeah, one of their road guys, like straight up, like almost choked me out, and I thought I was gonna die.
So we should explain the
Whoa.
context. I mean, it ended up being no harm, no foul in the end, but the way Skatopia worked is they had a general schedule that they would pencil in, but really you just had to stand by the stage and hope your spot didn't get snaked because people are just wasted and throwing fireworks at each other the whole time, you know? It's insane. It's total chaos. So we had been waiting to snag a spot on the stage forever, and we were supposed to go on at wasn't it like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that? Like it was really
We were
late.
told we had like a set time, and I don't want to say we were Skatopia like veterans or whatever, but we had been there quite a bit, so we were told we had a specific time we were going to play, which I'm
Right.
sure quite a few other bands
They probably
had the
said that
same
to a
thing.
lot of people, yeah.
So we had all of our stuff up on the bowl ready to go, and the Shat guys came in, and they had a bigger name than we did. They had the visual for they had dildos all over them. People were like, they're crazy. So people wanted to see those guys, so they snaked our time slot.
Right.
And we were at Skatopia all day. We had been partying, and it's just like that time of night where I was like,
Tired,
need to
drunk,
go
angry.
we need to go on soon, or it's not going to happen. Like, we're corralling the 6 of us, however many of us there were at the time, was just impossible. So I was upset, and so they started playing. As soon as they were done, they got off and they started talking to people, and they just like weren't moving their gear. And I was like, okay, fuck this. So I started moving their gear for them because, it was just like the crowd could like disappear like that there, So you wanted to get set up and ready to go and just play while you still had bodies up on the bowl.
Right.
And so I started moving their shit, and then the next thing I know, this huge arm comes around my throat, and I just saw like tattoos and like muscles, and I was just like choking me out. And I remember like looking over the balcony, like the structure, to the ground that was like 2 stories down, and just feeling the life disappear from my body. And I was just like, this is it. This is how you go, dude.
Yeah. Dude, those guys were like a Three Kings favorite. Like Dano would rock. Like they had Chat on like the house playlist and on the jukebox. Like they loved that band at Three Kings. The name I was looking for was Leland. Leland. I am such a dick. I'm so sorry, man. I was like sitting there like Leroy Leonard Lasagna. I can't remember. Fucking Leland, dude, who used to play keys for the trade-ins. Like, and
That's right.
he was the bingo host before Gretchen came on. Yeah, man. The bingo times were great, man.
Dude, I wanted to give I wanted to give
69.
Yeah, but that's one of the times Logan almost died.
Hey, with a celebrity appearance by someone from Shat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I wanted to give James Freeman a shout out because he recorded us at Three Kings in February of 2014, and we ended up putting it on our tape. Super Boom, which you probably can't see because it does weird shit to the thing. I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to.
Oh, you put one of his recordings on Super Boom? That's great.
Yeah. We put as many as we could on there from just, like local cats that recorded us because that's kind of what the vibe of the recording was. But
James Freeman
but that
says
was the
Shat left soiled diapers back in the green room. Fucking disgusting, dude.
That's how you get invited back.
what a calling card.
Because diapers. Dildos.
Meanwhile, they didn't want to have Guttermouth play because they didn't want fucking Mark Atkins spitting all over the stage. Shat
was that
leaves used
before
diapers.
Is that before or after he attacked Fort Collins?
What? Wait, what happened with Fort Collins? Mark
When-
Atkins
Mark Atkins.
from Guttermouth attacked
Yeah.
Fort Collins? What do you mean?
They were playing a show there, and some girl was like talking shit to him, and so they got up in his face. And,
Right. Yeah, there was like video of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if it's before or after?
I think it was before that, but I remember the whole thing was like the bid came across the desk, and I was pretty new to the booking game at that point, and Jeff was showing me the ropes, and was kind of saying what he would put up with and what he wouldn't put up with, and who he would book and who he wouldn't book, and I was like, dude, Guttermouth, oh my god, I saw these guys on Punk TV, it's such a big deal, and Jeff was just like, nah, I don't want to deal with that fucking guy. He's like,
man,
he'll spit all over the stage. His fans will spit on him. He's a pain in the ass. It's not worth the money. Nah.
from what I understand, they've calmed down, but I do not blame him at all.
No, I don't blame him either. I mean,
Adrian asked which house was that gross couch from?
I mean, at the very least, it was from the Tennyson house. So when Tony, Fatty, and Jerry and Ty all lived together, and I was staying there for a bit when the power got shut off, and we had to stay in the Oriental for a little bit, that, it was definitely at that time, and probably a couple houses before that. I don't think it was from 1083. If it was from 1083, it should be exorcised by a fucking priest, but
I thought it was before Tennyson, after 1083, so somewhere in there.
And I think it was after Bel Air 1, and it might have been from Bel Air 2, but it had been around for quite some time. That couch followed Jerry around for a fucking while, man.
So on Tennyson, then when you guys were up in that area, there was a studio up there that I think shut down. It would have been a little bit before I moved to town, but it was right around the corner from Tennyson Tap.
Oh yeah,
the alley.
Right. It was upstairs.
The alley. That's Dave Fox's studio. Dave Fox, who owns Tennyson Tap, that's his studio, and we actually recorded our very first 7-inch at the Alley Studios. Geraldo from Catheter recorded that one. He was one of the regular engineers at the place. We recorded that fucking thing on ADAT. That's how old we are, man.
Good old ADAT.
Yeah, no, dude. We did a song up there in the alley. We did "Baby I'm the King," which was a song we wrote for a cartoon show. Nebular King of the Aquatis. Yeah, remember that one? Yeah, we recorded that with Dave Fox, and he actually had at one point, I don't know if he still does, but at one point he had the studio wired into the bar, so you could actually, you had XLR channels, and he could theoretically, if you wanted to, could record and mix your show up in the studio while it was going on live. It was a really cool space, man. You're saying it closed down?
Yeah, no, I think it closed down because a guy I know had a connection to that studio, and he was one of the guys that I connected with when I moved here. And it was a guy named Carl, and I was doing some audio production classes with him, and I don't know if it was the same place or not. Maybe it doesn't sound like maybe it was the same place,
maybe
but it was. I don't know, but I got the impression that it was on Tennyson, and it would have just closed down just prior to me arriving. So I don't know.
Yeah, when
he said he knew you guys, and that was the connection. Is that he said he knew you guys, and that he's like, oh yeah, I know those guys, and
again,
like I mentioned that.
It sounds like the alley. Sounds like Dave Fox's joint. I know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but
Tennyson was a different. Now, this is something. Seeing what has happened on Tennyson really makes me scared for Broadway.
Tennyson is. I mean, just in the short time I've lived here, it's a different. It's amazing what's happened there.
It's a
crazy.
different place. When we lived on Tennyson, it was right when that was starting to happen, and there was a little bit of changeover going on. But the Berkeley Inn was kind of a rough and awesome and fun place, and like
I loved the Berkeley Inn.
Yeah.
We played a
Oh,
show.
cool.
Granny Tweed played a show there. It was fun.
Hell yeah.
you played a show at the Berkeley. That's great.
Yeah, we did. It was one of the first shows we played in town. Yeah.
Hey, shout out to Dylan Camacho for joining. Holy shit! You guys know who
Oh,
Dylan
and Molly
Camacho
Law.
is,
Molly
right?
Law joined. Hey, Molly, what's going on from
Hey,
Kansas?
Molly Law.
What's going on?
Did you guys know who Dylan
Well-
Camacho is, right? Dylan did his internship, his front of house engineering internship at fucking at Three Kings. Like he was a super young dude, and every time I would see him, I'd be like, Dylan, you son of a bitch, and I'd like try and do the thing, and he'd be like, I don't know what you're referencing. I'm like, fucking Predator, dude. You've never seen Predator? And he's like, no, I've never seen Predator. I'm like, oh my God. And then like after that, pretty much every time I would see him, I would try and do it again. And I'd be like, you haven't watched Predator yet, have you? Because if you would watch Predator, you would get the fucking reference and you wouldn't leave me hanging right now. And he never got around to watching it. Did you, Dylan? You son of a bitch.
Oh, damn, dude. Leave the guy alone.
James Freeman says Berkeley is still there. No, yeah, it is still there.
It is still
But
there.
Tennyson is not the same. And the Berkeley, while still a very cool place, is not the seedy den of iniquity that it once was before Tennyson got all highfalutin.
Wasn't it the last place to stop the indoor smoking? Like, wasn't it the very last place, the
I mean,
very
we
last
used to smoke in there.
establishment in Denver?
That
don't know.
would be fucking hilarious if it was true. Some of us are old
think
enough
it
to
was.
remember when that happened. You know, I think I was 21 when they changed the smoking indoor rule in Denver.
Well, you know what they did in Kansas, and I think they did it here to an extent, but like when there was a smoking ban going on, like all these clubs, like they basically turned into clubs. They turned into private membership clubs. So you had to have you had to be a card carrying member in order to smoke in
Kansas?
a bar. So yeah. So like you would have to go like get a membership, pay like your $5 or whatever. They give you like some kind of laminated card, and if you didn't have that laminated card, then you couldn't be smoking inside, a tavern in Overland Park or some shit. And yeah, that was what a way to work around the law, man.
Well, dude, they
I'll tell you
have
what.
Salt Lake City has something similar. Like Salt Lake City, you have to register as a social club, and you're supposed to have membership cards technically to serve alcohol at your bars. So like dude, this is the funny thing about Salt Lake City.
It's a fellowship thing.
Well, dude, Salt Lake City is actually a really fun party town that just has a ton of ingenious people who are really good at maneuvering the different loopholes that the Mormons have created in the state of Utah. Like you're only allowed to sell 3-2 beer. Okay, so we'll just sell Tall Boys a 3-2 beer. And if you come to our bar, you get 2 Tall Boys 3-2 beer for this price, and blah, 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 blah. Like, they figure out ways to just go, we're still going to get wasted whether you want us to or not. So, hey, Gordo, you want to do
Yes.
the sponsors real quick? And I'm going to go run and take a leak because I'm about to piss my pants.
Whoa.
Sponsors.
We'll do the sponsors. Okay, here we go.
Oh my God.
Let's hear it, bud.
Let's hope I can remember them all. Rocket Space Rehearsal Studios. See, I'm going to do them all out of order. Rocket Space Rehearsal Studios. Okay? You got that?
Yeah.
You got that? They're up
rad.
and running. They're up and running, right?
Are they? Yeah, I saw something about that. Like they have, a mask rule and everything's sanitized and everything's clean and everything's safe and
I saw
just
the mic
going-
booties. The mic booties going
Yeah.
over the microphones.
I think it's just kind of go in there with a good attitude that everybody's using that spot and it's legit, I don't know too much more about it than that, but
Book your time at the rehearsal studios up there, man. They'll make it clean for you. That's the vibe I'm getting. That's the vibe I'm getting. And Evergroove.
woo!
And I keep forgetting, like, is it in the shadow of Black Mountain? I mean, Aaron does all this stuff. I don't know.
Dude,
It's in the shadow of Black Mountain, and he does the Black Mountain thing. But yeah,
just the drive up there. Like, if you're sick of sitting in your house and just chilling, go take that drive and just go up that Black Mountain Pass up in Evergreen. It is gorgeous and beautiful.
Yeah. Well, and see, and I have yet to even be up there. Like, Brad has mastered probably 3-4 albums for me, and I've still never actually physically been to Evergroove Studios. I've never
Evergroove Studio. Did you already say?
Take it away, Aaron.
Did you already say 70% solar powered?
There it is.
70% solar powered. That's true.
Did I miss Matula?
No. I saved that one for you. For you.
Oh, okay. So, well, Matula Plumbing. Shit rolls downhill. Don't be at the bottom. Your number 2 is our number 1 priority. Your shit is our bread and butter. Angie's List Super Service Award winner back in 2011 won one is the only one that matters. After that, I got all political and, Angie's List. Those big wigs over there. He'll wear the booties for you if you need your shit piped out and you're in the Des Plaines, Illinois area. Hit up my man, Jerry Matula. He will wear the motherfucking booties for you because he's the master of hoopers. That's right. Flipside Music. I actually just went by there. I bought a couple cables online that I need to help my new VE8 acoustic singer pedal work. Dude,
I mean, you were getting fancy with the loops there a little bit.
I was getting fancy with the loops.
You're a looper now. You're a looper. Just face it.
Please.
He's a looper.
Please. Looper means something totally different to me, and it means the premise of the Bruce Willis, Shia LaBeouf movie about time travel and murdering yourself.
Fantastic makeup in that movie. Fantastic.
Oh, so good. No, I went by Flipside. They're staying busy. They've got people sanitizing their hands. They're selling stuff out of the counter. People are coming in and checking out guitars. They're still doing curbside. Most of their stuff is online, but they're staying in the game. I went by to pick up a couple cables and a boom stand. Ike is a survivor, man, and man, he's got the largest selection of effects pedals in the region. He's also got a ton of know-how about all the gear that you need to know about. Life is short. Go make some noise.
Yes.
Yes. You didn't do Rocket Space, right?
We did.
You did Rocket Space. Rocket Space. Burn TV Studios. This podcast and a bunch of other amazing content come out of Burn TV Studios, home of the Nug Nation. Man, the Nug Nation is great. It's we're doing a bunch of stuff with Hempire and Redman, and pretty soon, eventually we're going to release, as soon as Ritz gets back on a touring schedule, I think we'll release our interview with Ritz. Man, we just got so much cool stuff coming out of here. See what Burn TV has got working. Let's see. Oh, of course, I mentioned Mutiny Information Cafe, 2 South Broadway. Mutiny is everything. Books, coffee, records, cereal. No one has a larger selection of Torini syrups. No one.
Nobody.
There was no one that time.
You can't. Yeah, you can't do it correct twice. We did it right once,
and that was it.
And that was it. That's all you got.
Yeah, Mutiny's great. They got all the stuff that you need. Check them out. I think. Oh, and of course, all the people who back us on patreon.com/mfruckus. You guys are seriously making the goddamn world go round and round, man. Seriously, you guys have kept us alive during the lockdown. We've been able to stay active and move things along with some of the various projects that we're working on. And in addition to that, all of you who have been participating in the COVID Out of Business sale on our Big Cartel shop, you can go to mfruckus.bigcartel.com and use the promo code COVID at checkout for 15% off your total order. But yeah, all you guys on Patreon, patreon.com/mfruckus, you guys have been keeping us afloat, man. We really do appreciate it, and we've been able to get a ton done. We give a ton done. My name is Ton Done. That's my caveman name.
Tatanka.
Anyway, any old hoot. We're here talking about Three Kings, man. We're here talking about the coolest rock and roll bar with the grossest bathroom. Well, maybe not the grossest bathroom. Where would you say
Hail
that?
Cellular.
Where would you say that the Three Kings bathroom rates in terms of grossness?
Like,
I've seen grosser, honestly.
I mean,
definitely
Lion's Lair was grosser at one point. The Double Down in Vegas is definitely grosser.
The Replay Lounge in Lawrence, Kansas definitely gives it a run for its money.
Oh,
Anytime you see the rats like running back into the wall when you go in there, it's like that'll win in my opinion. But hey,
dude, you gotta see. So Sarah's been going through her Three Kings pictures because she was a bartender there for, I mean, close to the whole time. She was there for probably 7 or 8 years, I think, when she finally left. But
Hey, Gordo, I got a background for you, buddy.
But she had a picture, and I wish I had it on hand to just like post up on here. But when they first installed the urinal trough in the men's room, Sarah was the first person to pee in it. And there's a picture of her squatting over the urinal trough in the men's room. Hey, shout out to Desiree Anastasia. Welcome to the party.
Interesting choice. Very interesting choice. But
Shout
let's see
out.
this background.
It's not working. Give me a second.
Shout out to Cassie Begay. What up, girl?
It's not centered, but
it's not quite.
You know what it is?
Is it Conan?
It's Conan, yeah. But it's just got a big butt for an arm.
Oh my god.
Hey, Karen Kuda is in the comments. Everyone say hi to Karen Kuda. What's going on,
Hi,
girl?
Karen.
Friend of the show, guest of the show, friend of the people, really. And pretty much if you've been to a venue, pretty much if you've been to a bar in the city of Denver, at one point Karen has likely been your bartender. Like, she works at more bars than I think that there are days and shifts for one to work in a bar. Like, I saw her, like we worked together at the One Up for a while. I saw her at oh God, what was it? The Mission Ballroom. She was bartending at the Mission Ballroom. She was bartending at Larimer. She was bartending at what's the fucking Globe Hall. Where all else do you work, Karen? So people can come see you once you can bartend again.
We've got some bathroom suggestions. Bar was always gross.
Yeah, Bar is pretty gross.
That's a good contender.
There was the hole in the floor where people just peed in the hole.
Oh, yeah. The pee hole. Yeah.
The pee hole.
That place is
15th
pretty
Street
bad.
Tavern.
Yeah, someone put
Matt
15th Street
Atkins
Tavern on here. Yeah. Matt Adkins said 15th Street Tavern. That's pretty great.
Adrian said the old Oriental Theater backstage bathroom.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad.
It was bad, but to be honest, I'm so glad it was there.
Yeah, Lion's Lair was pretty bad, but I still did cocaine off the lid of the toilet tank when I was 20-something. So, we pick our battles.
Say like 20 minutes ago.
Like 20 minutes ago. I just broke into Lion's Lair and was just like, this is for you.
Adrian said the clock tower.
Clock tower, yeah.
Gretchen said the bathroom was fine, you yuppies, full of cocaine as it should be.
Well, okay. To be fair, Gretchen, you really started hanging out there after the renovation. Before that, there was literally in the men's room a shower curtain covering the shitter. Like it was pretty bad. It was pretty gross. And if you were lucky, you had access to the executive shitter, and someone behind the bar would give you the keys and let you go down there and take a shit with a door that locked.
That's how you knew you made it. That's how you knew you were in with the Three Kings crowd. It's like
that's what I'm saying.
You loaded in your gear and you were like, "Can I get that key?" And they were like, "All right, man."
Can I get the key to the exec?
They had no problem
Something
giving you
that
that key. You were in.
something that our two bands have in common is that we both of our bands rehearsed in the basement of Three Kings.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that was
before the
literally
days
our
of
only
Rocket
place
Space.
to rehearse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, before Rocket Space was a thing, they would, like, if you were between rehearsal spaces, you could find a time off the calendar to come in. Or, like, we wanted to go in and do a soundstage rehearsal for a show that we had coming up, and they let us come in during happy hour and just take up the stage. And some of the daytime regulars didn't know that we were rehearsing. So they were just daytime Broadway drunks, were sitting in the audience, like thinking that they were just watching a show. And it was a rehearsal, so we were stopping and starting a lot. And the Broadway street people started getting fucking mad, and they just started yelling shit at us. You guys are the worst fucking band I've ever seen. Finish the goddamn song.
You're like, wait a minute, we're not actually doing this.
Oh,
for
no.
real
This
right
isn't
now.
a show. I know we're on a stage in a bar that is open for business, standing in front of lights, but you would be mistaken if you think that we are actually performing a performance right now. We are actually just having a rehearsal. Yeah, whatever. Just play a goddamn song. Yeah. Do you remember that, Logan, when that shit happened?
Oh yeah.
What did he vote?
Yeah.
What did you?
James Freeman says original Larimer lounge bathroom was a nightmare. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Hey, Donnie. Donnie Stokes is up in the house. How you doing, buddy? Oh,
We're talking bad bathrooms here on MF Talk.
Bad bathrooms on the MF pod.
I think the worst bar bathroom ever, though, was when we played Fred's in Juarez, Mexico, Logan.
I was going to bring it up. I didn't want to just like, bitch slap all the other bad bathrooms right out of the race.
That's the trump card. You can't
Yeah.
beat the terrible bathrooms at Fred's in Juarez, Mexico. Like, it was literally a hole, like it was a shelf with a hole in it, like a tiled shelf with a hole in it. And there was just like a roll of toilet paper sitting on the bench next to you.
No. That toilet paper was there because me and Ty went and hunted down a roll of toilet paper. Like,
that's right.
There was no toilet paper, and there were basically 2 holes in the ground. And I went and asked like the liquor store owner. I was like, "Hey man, can I buy toilet paper off of you?" And he said, he saw the look in my eyes, and he gave me a roll of toilet paper. And I was like, "Dude, you're the best." And so we ran back to Fred's, and there were like 2 holes in the ground. Me and Ty both just dropped trowel. I put the roll of toilet paper on my finger, and I was like, "Go, man. Just take it as you need it." And it was a bonding moment for me and Tyrell. Actually.
Yeah. Worst bathroom, worst stage, worst wiring, best crowd. Best crowd. Like,
hey, what's up, Weston? Weston just joined.
Weston's up in this bitch. Yeah, that was one thing though. Is that it was like their stage was a pool table with a sheet of plywood on it, and the wiring was all frayed and just like waiting for a great white type of situation, honestly. And but the crowd was just awesome, man. You could just make shit up and they would be fucking thrilled about it. Like, there was all these like black velvet paintings of Jim Morrison and like the Misfits, Crimson Ghost, and like the Casualties everywhere. Like, literally, like someone made a black velvet painting of the Casualties logo. That's how Juarez this fucking joint was. And we had played all the songs that we had on the set list, and they still wanted us to play more, so we faked our way from through Last Caress. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
You know what place has the worst shitter is the Overlook Hotel.
The Overlook Hotel?
Good.
What's up, Joey? Joey said room 237 is right behind you.
There's that creepy bloody guy in there, and he's just like trying to convince you to kill your family the whole time. It's like, dude, I'm trying shit.
I just have a bad.
Like, man, some cologne or something to hand me.
Sorry, man. I ate Indian about half an hour ago.
Could you get out?
This
Have
one
you
for
guys
guys?
seen that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Oh, what's up, dudes?
So, dude, there was a lag, and I saw that in
featuring
OBS.
Kevin O'Connor.
I saw that in OBS after you guys saw it in Skype because I'm looking at you guys with the OBS windows. There was a lag, so I just heard fucking Gordo erupt with laughter, and then the fucking Queen photo popped up behind you.
So
That one's
good.
sticking around for a minute.
Hey, everybody out there who's watching, you know what?
man.
This is actually a perfect time. Everyone out there who's watching, take whatever's in front of you. I'm gonna open one of these fresh St. Paulianes. Take whatever's in front of you, and let's raise one up to the three kings, Jim, Jeff, and Marty. Everybody who ever worked on either side of the bar, everybody who worked on either side of the stage, anybody who ever came into that place and made it what it was. Big shout out to Dan Utter. James just mentioned it. My good friend Dan Utter, rest in peace, got married down in the basement of Kings in the afternoon while Itch.io was setting up and sound checking their big drum array. Dude, you cannot have a more Denver experience than that. That place
For
was
real.
fucking amazing. And no one is, I mean, other places will open, people are always going to see live music, as James pointed out in the chat, man. But, there will never be another place like it. It was something special. And we were very, very fortunate to set foot in there and be a part of it at all. So cheers. Cheers to everybody from Three
Thank you,
Kings.
guys.
Cheers. Thank you so much. I should give a shout out to the Colorado Punk Rock Army guys. They're putting together an episode of their show. They do actually more of a produced show than we do. They have a pretty great show on their YouTube channel. And they're putting a thing together. They're putting together a big tribute. And they got people contributing to it. I've been asked to contribute a eulogy for the episode, so watch out for that. It's going to be coming out this summer, probably beginning of June. So shout out to those guys. Keep an eye out for that. Yeah, man. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, we could tell stories all day about that place, but I think
We really could.
I think they're going to be rolling out for quite some time. People are going to be circulating stories around for a while. So keep sharing photos.
Maybe next week we could get the phone line in. We could get some people.
Yeah, I would love that. We'll figure something out. Ethan and I will work it out. We thought we figured out a solution and it didn't work. So I'm sorry to everybody who tried to call in and it did not work. We wanted to try and experiment and everything was just kind of stacked up against us at the moment. But we're just happy to get on and talk about a place that we loved to play and party and be. And we'll see you guys at whatever new spot tries to fill that void. Whenever we get to see you guys at that space, man. Yeah, I'm really worried. I'm looking forward to getting out and playing shows with people again, and for people.
Yeah. No
Um,
doubt.
Yeah, man. I think we'll call it here, and we'll just plan on probably having some more stuff like this going on in the coming weeks, or kind of see what happens. Maybe we can get some people from the staff on or something like that. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for listening. If you're listening to the podcast version of this in the future, this has been the motherfucking podcast, episode number 106. We'll catch you guys on the flippity flop next time.